Hello, Professor. This is my video response to the Module 12 skills demonstration. So jumping right into it, define the family problem. Upon watching both of these videos, there is a lot going on with his family, with Pedro and his wife, Chantel. Just listing out some of the common things that I saw in the video or throughout the both videos, was there was a huge infinite, a huge incident surrounding Pedro's infidelity when he was, I think it was in the Dominican Republic. That was kind of in that first video where it sparked this confrontation with Chantel's entire family, but more so with her mom, who brought the taser, which he tried to call a tactical flashlight. Um, I found that really funny. But there's that kind of um the issue there. And then moving kind of into the second video, there was this when they were in the like family group counseling setting, there was a larger thing of Pedro kind of announcing that he wanted to bring his mom and his sister to America. But he apparently didn't tell Chantel that, and that kind of, threw Chantel and her family off. Um, Altogether, there seems to be a huge trust disparity, not only between Chantel and Pedro, but also between Chantel's family as well, which puts Chantel in this kind of, I think it was called like triangulation, in which Chantel is trying to kind of uphold and respect her loyalty to her original family, but also to her husband Pedro as well. And then another thing that I saw was a lot of intergenerational and cultural differences between like Chantel, her family, and Pedro as well. So there's a lot of kind of like expectations, emotional reactivities, and such that's most likely shaped by like this cultural dissonance between Chantel and Pedro, but also like past relationship patterns, and then also just the intergeneration between like Pedro, Chantel, and their families as well. So two focal concerns that are obstructing a healthy family functioning and relationship between Chantel and Pedro and the family is kind of this boundary violation and enmeshment, which I think is listed in the textbook, between Chantel's family, kind of frequently inserting themselves into Chantel and Pedro's kind of private life. Obviously, like with this intervention, I guess if you want to call it, during the first video, kind of Chantel opens the door and then, all her family members just kind of barge in and start kind of berating Pedro with like, what happened? Like, we just want to know, like, why are you hurting our daughter? Like, they're just kind of like berating him with all these questions. And then there's this cultural misalignment and loyalty conflicts for the second one, where, like I said before, Pedro and Chantel come from different cultural backgrounds with, distinct, separate expectations around family involvement within the relationship, privacy, and emotional expression as well. So, answering the first question, or the next one, identify one first order change strategy most applicable towards strengthening the family's function. So, for this first order change strategy, I put the problem solving approach as kind of the one that would yield as most applicable towards the situation. Just because, like I mentioned before, there is this high emotional reactivity. Um, which this problem-solving approach could help reduce the impulsive responses and promote thoughtful engagement. So moving away from the taser and moving towards actual verbal conversation surrounding, what is the issue, what's going on, how can we resolve it. Also, the cultural and relational tension, um, in which this would allow the family members to focus on shared goals rather than personal attacks. So again, rather than the family just kind of coming in and, berating Pedro and accusing him of doing all of these things wrong and saying like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? We can kind of move forward toward, and especially too with Pedro wanting to bring his family over, his mom and his sister, instead of just attacking and berating Pedro on that front, we can also kind of just come together as one unit, right? As one family unit and decide what is best for our family, right? And share goals. And that works the same way with Chantel's family as well, right? So instead of it just being kind of Chantel is having this triangulation between loyalty to Pedro and loyalty to her original family, we can figure out kind of how we can bridge that gap. So now it's not loyalty for one or the other, but it can be loyalty for both. Moreover, it can be this unity bridging both families together. And then lastly, which kind of you know jumps back to that the previous point I made is multiple stakeholders. So this also creates space for collaborative input while maintaining focus. So this is, I guess, kind of re-envisioning how Chantel's family kind of engages with Pedro. So instead of going full intervention and bringing a taser, it creates the space for them to add their input, right? To add an external input that's outside of the relationship while also maintaining focus, while also understanding that, this is Chantel and Pedro's relationship and that they are not the primary stakeholders, right? That is Chantel and that is Pedro. They are allowed to add their collaborative input and they can do so in a way that focuses on shared familial goals and not personal attacks that can will ultimately enhance this relationship, this family dynamic, without bringing the taser, without setting these interventions, without seeming like they are attacking Pedro over and over again. And so, a way in which a social worker could help the family with this is kind of identifying the problem clearly. So going back to like the first question and just going through the family problem, like what is going on with the family? Like what is going on? Where's all the conflict coming from? Where's the disassociation coming from? Et cetera, et cetera. Um, Brainstorming solutions together, right? So bringing the family together, focusing, like I said, on those shared goals, evaluating pros and cons, and then implementing and reviewing how those implementations are working. For my second order change strategy, I selected that modifying family alignment and hierarchy would be the most beneficial for this family. So just kind of like jumping back through some of the points I made previously, this one kind of entails right the enmeshment and triangulation with Chantel's parents inserting themselves into the relationship, like this marital relationships, and undermining this autonomy between Pedro and Chantel. There's power imbalance with or between Pedro and Chantel and her family, where Pedro oftentimes possibly feels outnumbered and disrespected, and then you have Chantel with that triangulation, right? Is caught between loyalty between her husband and her family. And then you also have that cultural misalignment where Pedro and Chantel have differing expectations around family roles, privacy, decision making, but then also that intergenerational um, misalignment between the family itself that creates friction, and that can only be like exacerbated with unclear and unset boundaries. So when it comes to implementing this when it comes to facilitating this, um, I would say that a big thing would be to rebalance the power dynamics of the relationship. So empowering Pedro and Chantel to function as a unified couple. And like I said previously too, right, the family is allowed to come in and to work towards a shared goal. But in this instance, we need to kind of assist Pedro with feeling like he's not being singled out and outnumbered by Chantel's family. And then also another big thing too would be to realign alliances realign alliances that shift more from Chantel and her family to strictly one that's more focused on the relationship, the marital alliance, right? So Chantel and Pedro. Because it seems like I said, throughout both videos, it seems like there's just like this huge imbalance between Pedro and Chantel and her family. Awesome. Thank you for watching my video.